I'm particularly focusing today on the HR business partnership from a perspective of how we can help the business grow and how we can help organizations future-proof themselves. So I'm not particularly focusing on the role as a job title or as a job responsibility, but most of the time I'll be focusing on how HR business partnership would help the organizations move forward. It's absolutely fantastic, a great pleasure being here. So I'll start from here. You've already paved the way at the beginning, and you explained HR transformation and how we're living in a hyper-connected, hyper-competitive world. So I'm particularly focusing today on the HR business partnership from a perspective of how we can help the business grow and how we can help organizations future-proof themselves. So I'm not particularly focusing on the role as a job title or as a job responsibilities, because it varies a lot from organization to another. I've seen organizations that are looking at the HR business partner as a purely operational role. It's part of supporting the shared services model. But most of the time, I'll be focusing on how HR business partnership would help the organizations move forward. I've never had the title of being an HR business partner, but for the past 17 years, I was always focusing on how HR interventions and HR support can help organizations develop further and promote sustainability and future-proof themselves. So I'm always looking at how HR can help the organizations succeed, how the HR can support the organizations to do their business in the best manner. And it's not about the short, quick wins. It's about the long-term objectives of the organization. So I'm going to share some ideas that might be helpful for you at your work. You might have some other ideas that you can build on and expand the focus. But worth to mention at the beginning is we are living in a world where HR is already split. There are lots of functions that are focused on HR operations, which are the biggest part of the HR, might be the most important part, might be where most of HR people or HR members of the department are working. And another part that is related to center of expertise, where it's about talent management and learning and development, performance management, all these things. But I think that there is another part that is concerned about how HR can support the business, can support the organization, which is HR business partnership. So I like to think about HR business partnership as another responsibility for the HR department or another part of the HR function that is concerned about supporting the business rather than focusing on the operations and the center of expertise. I'm going to build on what Maximilian has shared by pursuing. I like a lot of the idea of how we think of time and how we can expand our focus on the strategy, because this is part of HR business partnership. So in the coming few minutes, I'll start with why we need to rethink HR business partnership. So I'm going to focus on the organization and what kind of challenges the organization is facing. Lots of challenges have been shared yesterday and will be shared in the rest of the conference, but particularly I'm going to focus on key two areas that are challenging the organizations to change their perspectives on HR business partnership and how HR can support the organizations to grow. Then the other two parts are going to be mixed together. The part is related to what are the 5 key areas that HR business partnership can influence and can help the organization take it further to becoming, as Dave Aldrich is saying, the most important thing that HR can provide the employees is having an organization that can win in the marketplace. So how the HR leaders and CHROs and directors can use HR business partnership practices to help the organization win in the marketplace. And some key practice that we've already used either at ABI or before to embrace such practices. It's like quite a few examples, but you can use other practices. You can magnify it, you can try it today and see how it goes with you. It's different from industry to another, but it always, I'm going to share some practices are always working in whatever type of organization they have. It's bigger, smaller, startup, well established, and how it's going to be. So these are the three main areas I'm going to focus on. And I used to use this statistic quite oftenly, because it's quite alarming. 88% of Fortune 500 firms that existed in 1955 are gone, completely vanished today. Because it's quite alarming, and it's always helpful to think of the challenge that we face, that the organizations are facing today, in terms of how we can sustainably grow and develop further and succeed on the long term. Because most of the time we are driven by the instant gratification of our yearly targets and the annual objectives and the quick wins and short fixes that we can do to help the organization achieve its objectives and targets this year. But probably we might need to think of how we can help as HR professionals the organization to flourish and thrive over the coming periods. I think over the past few years, we've seen many organizations are speaking about how they survived the COVID-19 crisis, the economic crisis in 2008, the first economic crisis, and other challenges the organization are facing. But probably we need to think of how organization can thrive, even with the challenges that we are facing, because definitely we've had many projects and many digital transformation projects that were accelerated due to the distress of COVID. So there are also blessings of any crisis. How the organization can keep its focus on thriving rather than surviving. And from this perspective, we can look at how the organization can design their future possibilities, can explore possible ways of flourishing and growing further. And I want to start with some of the key challenges the organizations are facing today. It's hyper competitive. We are living in a hyper competitive marketplace. So if the 88% of the companies are gone since 1955 in the largest statistic, so the scariest thing is that it's no longer like this. It's not going to take 70 or 50 years for organizations to leave the market if they couldn't future-proof themselves. The pace of change is much faster. The pace of change is affecting every part of every corner of our lives. So if you look at other statistics, 52% of companies that were existed in 2000 of the Fortune 500 companies are already gone as well. So for another 50% of those companies, it took just 20 years to crack them down and to fall apart, or to fail to achieve their aspirations. So the world's becoming more competitive. You can see how companies are disrupted in a blink of an eye, how new startups are making lots of pains, lots of issues, and huge competition to well-established giants and big organizations. And another perspective is how we are living in a hyper-connected world. And I look at this as a new power for how we can use the hyper-connection and the power of connection across different continents, across the whole world, to serve the organization's aims and the organization's aspirations to grow further. Because now your people are not just connected to your organization, to their colleagues, to the managers and leaders. They are also connected to your competitors, to your providers, to your suppliers, because the world is more of a hyper-connected world, and they are exposed to huge and tons of information and knowledge every day, which is affecting the way they work, the expectations, and it's also helping the growth of what can be called mass personalization at work. So there are lots of challenges that are coming for hyper competition. It is increasingly it's increasing day after day. And also there is huge potential that we can use from the power of hyperconnection. Those are key factors that are affecting the organization. And And I want to look into how HR professionals can look at the challenge of being in a hyper competitive world and how they can use the power of connection, of hyper connection at the workplace. So, with this statistic and with those power, I want to shed light on an important thing. It's no longer about performance. It's no longer about excellence. It's no longer about rating. It's not about doing your business the right way every day. It's about doing the right thing. It's about innovation. It's about doing things better. It's about moving things forward. It's about exploring the potential for the world. So it might be true to say that we're moving from a performance obsessed organizations to growth and impact to growth driven organizations where everybody is looking at how we can grow further, the organization, the leaders, the managers, and the employees, how we can all grow together. So the more we are able to offer a culture that can help people grow up to their potential and avoid the underemployment issue, the more we can help the organizations grow and explore different areas. I don't think today that rating is effective and or pushing people to work more hours or to do the jobs within the box that was designed for them is quite helpful. And I want to explore and explain this a bit later. So the whole game is about innovation. It's about how we can help our employees and our organization develop different ways of innovation. I want to look at one of the key articles that was shared by Harvard professors and Stanford professors, Michael Toshman and Charles Orley, about the types of innovation that organizations can explore. So I want to start first with the incremental innovation and what can be called the many little tweaks that everybody in the organization can use and embrace to do the job a little bit better, and in order to encourage people and help people do such kind of incremental innovation, you need an engaged workforce, involved workforce, responsible citizens who can take things further and can work up to their potential, find a way to connect their strengths to their work and move it further. But there are also another type of innovation that can be called architectural innovation, which is around technology and process advances. So it's about fundamental change of a component of the business, how employees and organizations can find a way to embrace architectural innovation. And another type of innovation that's quite important for the sustainability and survival and the flourishment of the organization is this continuous innovation or radical advances that can alter the basis for competition in an industry. So how HR business partners can help the organization find a way to embrace the three types of innovation across all the elements of the organization, all the branches, all the departments, all the practices. That's a key area of how HR business partners can expand their contribution and move things further. But there are also some barriers that you're probably aware of that will stifle innovation and quench the opportunities and the possibilities for taking innovation further. It starts from disengaged workforce, departmental silos, and micromanagement, focus on the weaknesses of the employees and each other, job descriptions that are boxing employees in a very limited box that limits their opportunities to grow, feeling underemployed because I'm not able to use my strengths to the fullest potential, discouraging experimentation and asking people to work in a zero mistake environment where the game is about innovation. It's not about excellence. It's about coming up with new ideas, with experimenting new practices that might be developed further. I remember that at some point of time, Google was rewarding mistakes, intelligent mistakes as they call, where you can to encourage the employees and the incumbents to experiment a lot and fail fast and find a way to improve what they have done in order to produce new products and new innovative solutions to the customers. So discriminative practices are also key challenge or key barrier for innovation. So we're looking for organizations that are inclusive and can use the power of diversity. I've seen many people are speaking about the importance of diversity, but having a diverse workforce without having practice effective practices of inclusion that can help the organization use the power of diversity to promote collaborative intelligence would not be helpful enough. Diversity is a key, but using diversity to promote collaborative intelligence is the main role of the HR business partner to create the inclusive culture that can help people flourish. And detachment from the organization vision and strategy. It's not just about developing strategy, but it's about executing strategy. There are it's not about the question of asking people, do you know the vision of the organization? It's not about knowing the letters or the words of the vision, but it's about how I can connect my work to this vision. How can I help the organization deliver this vision? How can I have this line of sight between my day-to-day work and what the organization is doing? How we can help the organization have a living strategy. So those are key barriers that I can think about, and you might find more that we need to battle down and override to help the organizations go further to promote innovation. And when we start to think of the role of the HR business partner to future-proof the organization, I think we should refer to the model of that was put forward by Michael Toshman and Charles Orley. It's called the ambidextrous organization. It's something like I think it was inspired by the Roman god that was called Janus, that has two pairs of eyes, two sets of eyes, a pair that is laying ahead, and another pair that is looking backward. So the ambidextrous organization, it's like having two hands, one hand for exploiting the resources we have and how we do our business, and one hand is focusing on innovation. So probably HR business partner is more involved in how to help the top management and the leadership team foster ambidextrous organization. So the organization can work at the same time exploiting our resources in making the best of what we have, delivering what we are promising our customers, improving everything a little bit further. And here's we can refer to the first part of innovation. The first type of innovation was called incremental innovation. So the more we have employees who are engaged and fully empowered, and they are connected, they are able to connect their strengths to their work, the more they can innovate and do things better and spread over the little tweaks that can help the organization build a collective competitive advantage of improving at every single corner of the organization. And another part that is related to architecture innovation, this continuous innovation, is about exploring and experimenting. How we can create a culture that can help people become encouraged and to put things forward and to experiment a lot and to come up with new ideas of developing new products, new line of services, new ways of helping our customers. So the ambidextrous organization is about having those two hands at the same time, having those leaders who can embrace ambidextrous practice to focus on how we can do our business today effectively and how we can grow at the same time to find new solutions and new ways of doing ours. So this is part, and another part, how we can look at the other challenges that have already changed in the workplace. So growing as an ambidextrous organization might be not enough to future-proof the organization in a world that is challenged with many things. Bunny is another scary version of VUCA. Bunny means brittle, anxious, non-linear, incomprehensible world. Amid the uncertainty, the economic crisis that we're facing, the post-COVID effect, war and global conflicts, disrupted supply chain, technological advances that are already challenging the organization and making the market a bit more hyper-competitive. So with these challenges, we need also to combine the ambidextrous organization with spreading the agility across the organization. I know many people are saying that agility is a buzzword. Many people, many speakers, many HR leaders, many conferences are speaking about agility, but it's true. We're living in a very agile world, and we need to embrace agility and flexibility at every single corner of the organization. One of the key things that I like at ABI, the Egyptian banking, is it's always on the top of our records in any employee engagement survey that we are our highest strength is being flexible in terms of working hours, working from anywhere, in terms of giving people a chance to use job crafting and design their own jobs and find a way to set their objectives and move forward, embracing distributive leadership, so giving people chances to innovate and find ways to improve the work and to work cross-functionally across the boards. So agility with the cross-function, with the ambidextrous organization might be helpful to future-proof the organization. And I like to use the metaphor of moving from a beehive-like structure, like organization that embraces discipline and harness hierarchical the structure to more of a slinky coil organization where flexible, collaborative environment and structure and arrangements are there where people can find a way to connect themselves to personalize their experience, to grow up to their potential, find a way to design their own jobs and to move forward effectively. So with embracing agility, flexibility and collaboration, HR business partner can help the organization redesign themselves, redesign their systems to foster such practices across the whole organization, moving to the future-proof organization, combining the ambidextrous organization with the agile organization to move into future-proof organization. But what kind of practices and what kind of things that we need to focus on to embrace such a practice? I want to look at how HR business partners can look at different areas to promote agility and to foster dual innovation or ambidextrity across the organization to help the organization future-proof themselves. So those are key areas, 5 key areas that I think HR business partners would help, or HR as business partners can really focus on to help the organization move forward. I will start with the living strategy. And it goes very well with what Maximilian was saying about having time for focusing on strategy. So but I want to explore how HR business partner can help the organization close the gap between strategy development and execution. I will start with a strategy that is already developed, but of course, if the organization does not have a strategy, it might be a core area of focus, a core area of influence. The HR would help the organization develop a robust strategy by engaging all stakeholders across the board. But if we have already developed a strategy, we have a beautiful document or whatever document that we have for this, it's our responsibility as HR professionals to help the organization make this strategy a living organism, helping people align the practices and accelerate their performance to move forward. So the first part that we can focus on is the visibility of the strategy. Most of the time, and if you're using Balancer Scorecard and been using Balancer Scorecard for years, it's always challenging when the Balancer Scorecard is not connected, when people are not able to see how the strategy is connected and how we can connect to this. The world is becoming a huge need for simplifying things. So we're expecting that the employee would read a 20-page document of your strategy or 150 pages documents, like some organizations have huge fatty strategy documents that might be not easy to conquer, might be not feasible enough, not viable enough. But the whole thing is about giving the employee or our colleagues a very small, manageable, simple form. They can understand how we are moving forward and how we can connect our daily work to it. So the key elements here for the living strategy is visibility, alignment, and performance acceleration. And here's an example of what we used to have, and we used to experience magical effects when you build a strategy linkage map, when you convert the strategy document into just one page that can clarify what we are focusing on this year. So it's about clarifying what do we need to focus on for this year, what do we need to deliver by this year. If you look at this, this is an original document, a real document of our strategy map for this year. And you can see on the top the 5 strategic themes or the strategic goals. It has different initiatives and other aspects. And on the left side, you can see the perspectives of the balanced scorecard. And what I'd like to emphasize here, that we use transforming forward instead of internal processes. That was copied from PwC. It's not an original idea for me, but it was copied from PwC with my former employer. It was quite helpful to let people know that our objective is to transform our operations at every single moment, at every single possibility. It's not about maintaining the processes. It's not about the SOPs. It's not about the audit and maintaining things running this way. It's about transforming forward. It's about innovating our process along the way. So transforming forward perspectives come in the center of the balanced scorecard. So the more we can innovate our processes and use technologies, and here's where architecture innovation can be placed. So the more we're focusing on transforming things forward, the more we can help our organization serve better our customers and find a way and identify opportunities for growth and development. So strategy linkage maps are very helpful to make your strategy visible for the whole organization. It's not an office-based work. This is not developed behind the walls of the offices. It's about collaboration across the board, having people to share the ideas and to debate and build this document together. We used to have a management retreat in different iterations over the time in order to produce such an easily presented document. It's crowded here as a slide of the presentation, but it's quite helpful for every employee in the organization to understand what the organization is focusing on for this year. So starting by making your strategy visible, then looking at the alignment, and of course aligning people vertically is always part of the job, part of the organization's agenda. But what I've seen very effective, and I would like you to think about when you're using alignment, it's about organizational alignment. It's about aligning employees' daily work with the organization rather than the departmental goals. Because most of the time we see how our work is connected to the department objectives. It's a very close area where we are working, we are discussing everything every day, but most of the time we're not able to see how our work is affecting the whole organization. So the more we invest effort to connect our annual objectives or performance objectives to the organizational objectives, the more we have an open angle eye around the whole organization and how we can support the organization and foster cross-functional collaboration. Because when I look at the objectives of my department, I cannot see the opportunities for cross-functionally supporting other departments and other projects, and I cannot find a way to expand my contribution and my job scope across the board. But when I look at what the whole organization is doing, what the whole organization is targeting, I can find lots of possibilities of working there. We had a very enlightening event. It's called Departmental Objectives Marketplace. We had every organization to show and share with the employees their objectives for the next year, and having a discussion in a kind of exhibition setup with the employees to explore how they can fit and how they can support and where they expect cross-functional support. So people, when they are setting and designing their performance objectives, they can have an wide open eye on how we can support the whole organization rather than our department's objectives. This is an important part of alignment. And another important part of alignment is horizontal alignment. What I'm sharing here are screenshots of our HR system, where we ask people to find a way to align their objectives effectively. So they can see the whole strategy map is shared on the HR system, and they can find a way to connect the objectives with. Also, they can find a way to align horizontally. If my work is affecting another department or another colleague in another department, we can find a way to develop such a connection and commitment, mutual commitment, that we are working together on this objective. So I can easily align horizontally with other colleagues in other departments to ensure that we are connected, that the work is not duplicated. Also, we have a transparent platform for sharing the whole objectives, starting from the executive director to every single person in the organization can see the objectives of the other colleagues and the other departments and the other divisions. So the more the objectives are transparent, the more it's visible, the more it's aligned across the board, the more it's helpful to promote cross-functional collaboration and help people innovate and expand their practice. And the last part of the strategy is about performance acceleration, because this is a truly hyper-connected world. It's not about doing things step by step. It's not about wasting time with the unnecessary actions. It's about developing such a laser cut focus on how we can take things forward, how we can connect our daily contribution with the organization priorities. So we used to practice one of them, the OKR goal structure. So instead of we have a smart goals and we have KPIs on the level of the departments and the organization, but when it comes to the individual level, where we use OKRs there are lots of versions of OKRs. So what I'm explaining here is the structure we're using, where objectives are the what we need to deliver, what we're aiming at, and the key results are how we can reach this area. So it's about a very small action plan of the milestones that I can achieve to deliver the objective. So I can keep an eye of how I focus my work to deliver the objectives, and how can I connect my daily work with the objectives. So if it's not related to the key results, if it's not helping me to deliver the key results, so it's not a necessary work. And from another support function is about weekly check-in. So we develop OKRs, and everybody has his own OKRs that are connected with the whole organization, and they can see the possibilities across the board, and they also check on weekly basis with their managers. But there are a few tips that they should use to make this weekly check-in effective. Third thing is to have a casual discussion over morning coffee or an afternoon coffee. It's 15 to 20 minutes, just a casual discussion to share, for the employee to share the key priorities that they want to deliver by the end of this week. And it's just 3 key priorities, because it's about developing a good understanding of the organization priorities. So I'm not listing all the activities and duties I'm doing this week. I'm focusing on the key milestones that are helpful to deliver the objectives. And on the HR system, they can link each activity to what objectives and what OKRs they have. So by the end of each month or the end of each week, they can see how they work towards the objectives, and how the objectives are also affecting the organization objectives. So the whole chain, the whole line of sight is developed from the lowest level of the organization to the whole organizational priorities. So where people are working to make the best use of their time, they are working to exploit the opportunities to deliver further, and they also explore the opportunities to innovate on a daily basis. That's our strategy, and that's probably the most important part. It's our system, our HR system. So you just enter the activity, choose the status, and link it to your balance scorecard or behavior objectives. It's just 3 minutes activity, and it's quite helpful for both the manager and the employee. Well, worth to mention also, the role of the manager here is to ask few questions. How can I help you? What kind of support they need? If you need any further coaching or support, I can help, and how you think of, and how could you think if there's any other priorities that might be more important or not? If the employee is not aligned enough with the organization priorities, they might call for another alignment meeting, but not to destroy the weekly check-in practice. To keep the weekly check-in between 15 to 20 minutes, and to call for another alignment meeting to explore things. So that's when it comes to living strategy. And when it comes to culture, there are lots of ways of developing culture, and every organization might have different ways of building the culture. But I hope you agree with me when I say that there's no organization that have one culture. Probably we have lots of cultures in one organization, but it's about having a winning culture. It's about giving people choices and options to grow the way they want, to deliver the way they want, and to work up to their fullest potential. What I would like to mention here, that there are two parts of learning when it comes to culture: declarative learning, which is about communication and pitching the ideas about the culture, about the environment, and the vision and strategy and all these things, and the procedural learning, which is the role of the HR business partner. So how, as an HR business partner, I can use procedural learning to influence building the culture. What it's about: designing the systems, the procedures, the policies that would help people embrace the values and the culture that we're looking for. And the more we look at the culture, the more we look at how HR business partner can intervene to redesign the organization to embrace the specific culture. Then it's about nurturing the talent that would be reasonable in today's world. We are coming from what can be called I-shaped talent, where they focus on the depth of expertise. Then we move to T-shaped talents with the industrial world and the marketing era and the sales era, where we expect to have a breadth of knowledge. That's why the MBA flourished, and it goes further. But I think today we are living in a world that needs that what can be called a comp-shaped of talent, where people have depth of expertise and they have the breadth of knowledge. At the same time, there are some other areas they are experimenting in to grow further and to develop further capacity. And also another another area that they are exploring for the future possibilities. So we're looking for more for that type of talent, for the comp-shaped talent. That's why I think cross-functional collaboration is inevitable in today's world. And we've seen how the COVID has affected the whole organization, and pushed people further to explore how they can do the jobs differently, and more importantly, how we can do a completely different job that is completely different from what we've been doing before. So if you have comp-shaped talent, they will be agile enough to move from a job to another, from a role to another, so they can fit in whatever environment they offer, you can offer them, and they will not be affected with the death of some jobs that are completely replaced with the machines. So one of the key roles of the HR business partner is to help the organization nurture comp-shaped talents in this direction. And one of the three key practices that we use to implement here is: the first is job crafting. It's not enough to talk about job crafting today, but it's an important area that you might need to explore, offering your people the opportunities to design their own jobs and connect the jobs with their strengths, and find a way to expand their contribution across the board. Peer coaching is a magnificent practice. It's always helpful, and you will always get very, very positive feedback when you use peer coaching cross-functionally, not within the same department, and also using cross-functional projects and awards would help people embrace such practice. Leadership is also a key area that you can focus on. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to run a bit further. So in terms of leadership, we are in a world that we need distributive leadership. We needed inclusive leadership, and if you haven't yet developed such inclusive culture, so that would be a key area to focus on. But having distributive leadership and building decision factors across the organization is helpful to unlock the possibilities of having new innovations, new opportunities for growth. Strength-based and future-looking leadership practices would be helpful also to move your people further. And in terms of the last part, it is about being a practical futurist as HR business partner, but I think that was explored by my experience. I'm not going to focus a lot of it, but my advice here is to ditch prescribed jobs if it's prescribed, repetitive, patternized. So it's probably better to automate. But you need to explore it from now, what kind of jobs that you're going to ditch in the future, and how you can help your talents now reskill and upskill so they can be future proof and employable in the future. And here's the last slide I would like to close with, is the com-shaped talents of the HR business partner. So you definitely have the experience of the functional experience in HR manager, and properly psychology, coaching, financial analysis are areas to experiment a lot in properly data science are now the buzzword where everything is data driven, and we might need translators of data analytics as coined by McKinsey. So properly HR business partners can play this role in addition to commercial capabilities, so you can understand how you can help your organization compete and thrive across this amid such a hyper competitive world. I hope that you find it useful and effective for your practice, but I would like you to explore further how we can use job crafting, peer coaching, strength-based coaching, and how we can make our strategy living so that will help the organization move further. And it would be great if we can connect further. I will leave my LinkedIn link here on the chat box so you can connect, and be happy to explore things further and discuss some of these practices in a further way, in further details, so we can share some other documents for this. Thanks a lot, and enjoy the rest of the conference.